Hi, this is Brett Ingram, entrepreneur and award-winning product creator. And today, I want to share with you the 3 things you need to succeed in digital marketing. So more and more people every single day are trying to break into digital or online marketing. And it's no real surprise why. I mean, with digital marketing, what's great about it is, we can be in our own homes. We could do it from our bedroom or our basement or, living room or whatever. We can put things up online. It's almost instantly responsive because we can start to get results. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week. We don't need employees. We don't need overhead. We don't need, physical office space. So the expense structure is really low to get started. There are very low barriers to entry, and there's a ton of upside because it's infinitely scalable. The internet stretches all over the world, so we could tap into customer bases all over the place. And so there are a lot of benefits, in addition to the fact that, people want to be able to sort of control their own destiny and control their own schedules, as opposed to working for other people where you're at the mercy of whatever hours and days they want you in the office and those kinds of things. And so it's no surprise that lots of people would want to get into digital marketing. The sad thing, though, is that most people who try to make it, they ultimately give up before they make it because they get confused and they get overwhelmed by too much information, too many tactics, too many decisions to make, or they try something and it doesn't work. And then that ultimately leads to feelings like, struggling while, everyone else looks like they're succeeding. I mean, they make it look like digital marketing is this, magic button that you push and all of a sudden everyone's successful online, which couldn't be further from the truth. It may lead to feeling like you're on the outside looking in. There's all these people that are successful and they're all talking about like how amazing digital marketing is. And then, you're trying it and you just can't seem to get the results. So it's like, I don't understand, like, why are they able to do it, but I'm not? It may lead to frustration because you're, watching people work less but make more. You're banging your head against the desk trying to get things going. And for whatever reason, you're just not getting the results. And it looks, again, like it's so easy for everybody else, based on the stories they tell and based on the things that we see, that it makes it seem like, everybody can do this, but for some reason we can't. So then sometimes it even leads to self-doubt, wondering if maybe, you are the problem. Am I the issue? Like maybe it does work. It works for everybody else, but I just can't make it work. Maybe I'm just terrible at this stuff, or whatever. And so ultimately what it can do is it can lead us to keep it sort of a secret. Like if we're dabbling with digital marketing, we don't want to tell anybody because we know that, friends and family are going to laugh at us. They're going to say, oh, you're just a sucker. Like that stuff doesn't work or whatever. And I want to just tell you, if you feel any of those things, I completely understand because I was there myself. And I'm here to tell you that everyone goes through struggle to achieve anything worthwhile. So if you are out there and you're trying to do something with digital marketing and to this point it hasn't worked for you, that's okay. Struggle is normal. I struggled. It took me 6 months to make my first $17 sale. How many people would have given up after a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months to make $17? It didn't even come close to paying back what I had spent already. So I was still way in the hole, but I just believed in it and I really wanted it to work. The other thing it's important to understand is that people with dreams and goals are the only ones who become great or change the world. Who's the last person that became great or changed the world that had no dream or goal? So if you have a dream, if you have a goal and you want to make this work, don't let anybody tell you it's not worthwhile, it's silly, whatever. You hold on to that because only people that feel that way are the ones who change the world. And the last thing about it is what makes success so valuable and fulfilling in the first place is actually not the success. It's the journey to get there. When we go through a journey, when we go through the crucible of trying to create something or do something, that's big, that's grandiose. That is something that we struggle to achieve, and it requires a lot of effort. It requires a lot of energy and attention and drive to make that work. And when we look back on all the steps that we took, I have more fondness about some of the struggles and challenges I went through to get to where I am than actually where I am right now, because I understand that, that was the thing that made it feel good and feel worthwhile. So it's about understanding, if digital marketing is something that you really want to get into and you want to be successful in, and thus far haven't been able to make it work, it's about understanding how it actually works, right, is the first thing, and then committing to make it work. So this is the really important part. When I started in digital marketing, and this is back a ways now, I tried a lot of stuff because there were all these different ideas out there, right? There were 100 different ways to make money online, and they were all the latest, greatest thing. It was this glitch and this loophole and this exploit and they were all these sort of gimmicky things where people were trying to say, if you tap into this, we've cracked the Google algorithm, and then Google cracks you back, because even if what they're talking about works, 2 weeks later, Google figures it out. They slap all that stuff down, and now you're back to square one where you're trying to find another gimmick. And it was gimmick after gimmick, and there were all these ways claiming that was going to be fast and easy to make things work in the digital marketing space. And, I can save you a lot of trouble, and I can save you a lot of time, because I can tell you that the truth of it is, none of that stuff ultimately works, at least not long term. It may be a piece of a puzzle that you do, but anything that is sort of a, push 3 buttons and it's going to, exploit this thing, and it's never going to work, and it's certainly not going to work long term. The truth of it is, there's only one truly dependable way to make money online. And in fact, it's the only way that I've seen work for me. It's worked for people I've helped and countless others. And it's worked 15 years ago, it works now, and it'll work forever. So you might be asking, well, how can I be so sure that it would work forever? Because it's based on the age-old principle of creating value for others and getting paid for that. This isn't rocket science. Create values for others and get paid for it. You help people solve their problems, and in exchange, you make money. It's not based on trends. It's not based on fads, glitches, loopholes, timing. It's not based on perfect timing or luck. And it just requires 3 things. So you need 3 things if you want to be successful in the digital marketing space. The first thing that you need is you need a product or a service to sell that people want. And when I say sell, what I really mean is offer. Okay, so the traditional way of doing this is I create a course, I create a piece of software, I create a homemade arts and craft thing or whatever, and I'm going to sell that, right? That's the old traditional model. It doesn't actually have to be a sale. For example, leads can be something that if you were to generate online, you could sell those to other companies. You aren't actually selling anything. What you're really doing is collecting leads, and other companies are paying you to collect those leads. But you need something to offer, really, as opposed to sell, that people want, and that people will give something in exchange for. They want it enough that they will either pay money, or they'll give you their email address, or their cell phone number, or their mailing address, or contact info, or something. So you're capturing leads, or you're making sales, or whatever. So you need a product or service, right, that people want. Now, a third way of doing this is content, right? So even if you're not capturing leads by itself, even if you're not selling anything, if you have content that people really want, so they come and they consume the content, you could use that with an advertising model where you're putting ads on the space and you're getting paid for that. But at any rate, the number one thing at the core, at the root of it all, is you need something that people want and that they're willing to take some action to get, whether that's pay money and buy it from you, whether that is give you their email address or their contact information, or whether it's they come to visit your website or your social media page in order to consume the content. One of those three things you have to have in order to be able to make the rest of it work. Otherwise, whatever you're doing, at best, you're going to have a short-term success with, because it won't be evergreen. When you have something like that people really want and they're willing to take action to get it, you can monetize it in a number of ways. You could sell it, you could generate leads and then sell the leads. You can also put ads on your page or whatever and generate money through advertising. The second thing that you need is you need a website, or you need a method to convert buyers. And again, when I say buyers here, I just mean revenue, really, right? So for example, a website, an e-commerce website is, again, the simplest, easiest way to look at this. Because if you have a product and you want to sell it, you need a website set up with a shopping cart that people can go on your site, they could put it in the cart, they could buy it, check out, boom. Maybe it's a website with a lead capture page as opposed to a sales thing, same thing. They're going to input their information, their cell phone number, their email address, their contact, you've captured the lead. Or a website they can come visit to read your articles, listen to your podcasts, whatever, that you could put advertisements on to be able to generate that. And the same thing applies, by the way, if it isn't a website, to social media. You could use a social media account for this just as well. The social media account would be done in exactly the same way. You have enough content on there that when people go to it, you can monetize it in other ways. So basically, you need a product or something that people want, and you need a method that's going to get that into people's hands, right? So whether it's a website, whether it's a social media channel, whatever it is, you've got to have that as well. And then the third thing that you need, real simple, is traffic. You need the people to come to the site. So if you have great content and you've populated your website with podcast episodes and articles and everything else, now you've got your thing that people want, you've got your website or your online, sort of place for people to get it. Now you need to get people to it. So the third thing you need is that traffic element. You need visitors. If you were to open a storefront, even if you have great products and you have your physical location where people can come and buy it from you, if there's nobody walking by the store and nobody coming in the door, you aren't going to make any sales. Same principle online. So it's basically those three elements that you need. And, when you could do those three things, then you have everything you need to make money online with a digital business. You have an evergreen system for generating sales and income, because now you have something that you're offering that people want. You have a way to offer it or get it to people that they can consume it, and you have a way to monetize that, right? Because you have traffic coming in to convert all of that content into revenue. And so when you have those things, you have an evergreen system, and that's something that you can build on, something that you can expand, and something that you can scale. And in fact, if you look at it the opposite way, the truth is, if you can't do those three things, you're likely going to struggle. Because again, the internet isn't magic. It's just a way to transact business faster, easier, and cheaper than any other way. And business is simply the exchange of value. You have something I want enough that I'm willing to pay money for it or take action to get it. And that's it. So if you're serious about digital marketing, those are the things that you need to be able to do. So, you might ask, well, what kind of products, what kind of services, or whatever else. Well, again, you have an option. You could create a digital course where it's something that you sell or that you give away. You could create, software. You could create a physical product that you sell through the online marketplace. There are a lot of different ways to do it. Or you could just create great content. And that content can be audio, it could be visual, it could be written content. And you put it together in a way that people would be interested in it. And then you need to find a way to be able to get that into people's hands. I've been doing digital marketing for 15 years. And this is the same process that I started with. When I started out, part of what I struggled with was that I couldn't decide what I needed to do. It wasn't that I couldn't do it. It's that I didn't quite understand how to make money online. I saw, this thing that said, oh, you could place these penny ads on this and, you'll make a lot of money doing this. And then I saw this other thing that said, if you just use this particular like software, it's going to hack like Google and it's going to get you to page one. It's going to generate all this traffic. And then I saw, these black hat things and white hat things and all these different ways that people were purporting to be able to make tons of money, keyword stuffing and backlinking. And the thing of it is, I was trying to figure out like, okay, but how do I use that to actually make money? And what I realized is it ultimately all breaks down into one of those three categories, right? You either need to be creating a product or something that people want, you need to be finding a way to allow them to get it, or you need to be getting people to the offer to get it. Those are the only three pieces of the puzzle. So when you could do all three of those things, then you have the formula, you have everything that you need to be able to be successful. Once I figured that out, once I realized it was actually a lot simpler than I was making it, I was getting it way too complicated, trying to look at all these different techniques, and I was focused on tactics and strategies instead of just boiling it down to being real simple. Because at the end of the day, right, that is really what it's about. If people want what you have and they're willing to do something to get it, you have a viable opportunity there to turn that into a business. If you don't, then you don't. And it's that simple. And so I started to create, initially, I actually started to create ebooks and guides and things like that. And the first ebook that I made, all I did was take the information I had learned about digital marketing and I put it into a little ebook and I actually gave it away. I did it as a freebie so I could get list subscribers and start to build a list. Because I recognized that if I built a list, I had a built-in traffic source that I could mail to all the time. And so that's how I started. And then when I was like, okay, well now I need to somehow convert this into sales and be able to make money with it. What I did was I made a better version of the same thing with more detail, more how-tos, more links to other resources, and I think maybe some video training in there as well. And I did that as a like paid version of the same product. So I basically did a freebie version and then a $17 version. And the minute that I saw that work for the first time, where I was able to get a lead and then eventually convert that lead into a sale, I knew that as little as that was, I only had like a list of, 6 or 7 people, and I had one $17 sale. I had proved to myself for the first time that the cycle worked, that the idea worked, and the rest was history. I built one product after another. They got incrementally better and better. It wasn't straight up. Some were flops along the way, but ultimately the trend was upward and upward. I kept building more of a list. As I built more of a list, I had more marketing power, so I could promote for affiliates and I could promote my own stuff. I could create more products. Each product I created, I was getting smarter and better about it. My products were getting better. Slowly but surely, I went from making $17 and $136 to $1,000 and then $2,000. I mean, when I did my first like $2,000 product, I was over the moon. I thought, wow, this is amazing, and I just kept building it there, over and over and over again. And as long as I had in the back of my mind the idea that it is at the end of the day about the exchange of value, and it's about finding something that people want and offering it to them, it makes it really simple. Because all the rest of it are tactics. They're things that you can attach onto it. They're things that you can try to make the results get bigger or faster, but they aren't in and of themselves marketing, methods that are going to make you money out of thin air. So it all starts with the idea of the exchange of value. Find something that you want, that other people want, give that to them, find a way to give it to them, and then get them to the offer, and they will make the sales. So the takeaway here is that digital marketing can be life-changing because it largely democratizes business and it makes it accessible for nearly everyone in a way that was never possible before. It's never been faster, easier, or cheaper to be able to start a business or digital marketing and get going. You can literally start from your own home in one day with very little investment at all. but it isn't magic. It's still built on the same principle of business that's existed since the beginning of time, the exchange of value. We help people solve their problems, and in exchange, we make money, create value for others, and get paid for that. When we do that, we have what we need to be successful digital marketers.